many of us may not even know what difference between one type of board and the other type of board. So what is the difference between the three boards? This is one of the things that we are going to start with. Yeah, we have board for private organization, that is the civil society organization, and also we have for the public as well. For private CSOs, we have board of trustees, and also we have board of directors. That is the way many of us are using our board as nomenclature. For public organization, we have board of governors, and also in some agencies, we also have a board of directors. But the question is, what is different between these? Essentially, CSOs are expected to have board of trustees, while public organizations, agencies, and departments are expected to have board of governors. However, some CSO have board of directors, and the question is whether CSO actually need a board of directors. And the answer would be from the next slide here, which shows us that CSOs too can also be appreciated from two perspectives, from the perspective of non-profit and not-for-profit. Sometimes we use this interchangeably without knowing that there's some difference between the two. When we talk of non-profit, we are looking at NGOs, CBOs that have sole responsibility of ensuring that the people in the society benefit from whatever they are doing. And that is their responsibilities to the public as a whole. But when we talk of not-for-profit, we are looking at associations, we are looking at clubs, we are looking at town hall, town unions, and so on and so forth, that are also not-for-profit, but essentially, more often than not, their own responsibility is to their members. They are not making profits, but they are able to mobilize. The first beneficiary is usually their member. Although sometimes they also do one or two things for the public, but at least essentially the focus is largely on their members. You know that associations will always want to feather the nest of its members first before doing any other social service or charity for the public. So more often than not, we have a board of directors for associations, and also this type of a not-for-profit organization, whereas essentially CSOs that are non-profit should have a board of trustees. So most of what we'll be discussing will be more on board of trustees and how we can make our board of trustees function optimally. Now the board is an untapped resources. Many NGOs don't know how much they can actually get from their board, and so they underutilize their board. And it is the whole essence of this coming together this morning, is to ensure that we all have a very strong understanding of the potential of our board and how we can maximize that potential for the board to be able to support our activities, projects, and initiatives, and ensure that we are able to deliver on our promises to members of the public. The critical questions that we need to ask ourselves is, why is it that most CSO boards are not working to support the organization? Why is it that organization will have board and they will not be able to say, this is how the board has been able to impact on the workings of the organization? And the answer is not far-fetched. In some of the interaction with boards, various boards in the process of maybe board retreats or training for board members that we've conducted in the past, we realized some of the issues. One of the issues is that most of the NGOs and CSOs don't even know what the role of their board is. They don't know what role the board can play in ensuring that the organization runs smoothly. Because they don't know this, it becomes difficult for them to actually mobilize and orientate the board members to be able to do what they're supposed to be doing. And that is why it is also difficult for board members to know what is expected of them. There are instances where some board members might have even forgotten that they are board member of a particular organization because there is very limited engagement between the NGO and the board members. And then many organizations just only consider that having board is necessary because of registration. Because before you can register, CSC will ask you for your board. And apart from that, in our letterhead paper, we always put the name of our board there. So beyond that, many organizations don't know that there are other strategic roles that a board can play in the affairs of the organization. However, this is also very, very significant. Skilled board selection. Many organizations board, when you look at it, you realize why the board may not be able to fly. Organizations just recruit members of that organization or their friends and relatives to be part of the board. In as much as there is nothing ethically wrong with this, but more often than not, because of the sentimental attachment to the organization or probably to the leader, these people may not actually be able to confront the management and then ensure that management do the right thing. If you are my friends, it's not everything that I won't want to be too critical of whatever you are doing. And that can actually affect the growth and development of that organization. So 50% of getting the job done, making sure that your board works for you, is about the selection of board members. Who are your board members? What qualify them to be your board members? What value are they likely to going to bring to your organization? So if you are not able to answer this question correctly, and you just elect people to the board because you just have to have a board, then that board might not work. But if you are strategic in the way you select those that are going to be in your board, then definitely it's going to be that proactive from the part of the board. So now that we know why the boards are not working, how do we make the board work? What are those things that we need to do to ensure that the board works for us as a civil society organization? The first thing is that we must know who is the board. We must be able to answer that question. Who is the board? When we talk of the board, let us personify board and see that if it's a human being, who is he? And what is the relationship between the board and the management of any organization? The board is wearing two caps. It's an insider and it's also an outsider. What makes the board an insider? The board is an insider because it is part of the organizational structure. And then you realize that more often than not, you have the board at the helm of affairs when you look at the organogram of an NGO or any other CSO. But it's also an outsider. Why its responsibilities towards the organization also has some responsibility to the public, because it's the representatives of the public within that organization. So it's wearing two caps, and we must understand these two caps and what they require from the board for us to be able to drive them in the direction that will enable them to do justice to their roles in making sure that our organizations become viable and prosperous. Now, as an insider too, board also wear two caps. And what do I mean by that? There are two strategic functions that your board will provide for you as an insider. And that is to protect the organization and also to promote the organization. Those are the two key. So if the board is only protecting and is not able to promote, it has not succeeded. It's only promoting and it's not protecting, then it has not succeeded. So we must ensure that our board is able to protect our organization and as well as promoting our organization. How the board will do this is, we are going to be talking about that subsequently. So as an insider, that is what the board is supposed to do for us. And also, as an outsider, the board is also expected to protect the public interest. And we can only protect the public interest within what we do in our organization. So we also need to note how will having a strong board contribute to protect the public interest in regards to whatever we are doing in our organization. So for the board to work effectively, for the board to contribute their quota, they have to do those stuff. And then we have to start by how do they protect my organization? For instance, if I have a board and the board is to protect my organization, how will the board protect my organization? We need to ensure that organizational programs are always consistent with its vision and mission. That is the first thing that the board will do. The board will ensure that the organization is focused and that you are not distracted or diverted from one way to the other. The moment you are doing something that is contrary to the vision and mission of the organization, it is the responsibility of the board to call you to order. And they will only be able to do this when they know that it is their responsibility to keep you on your toe, to keep you on track, to make sure that you don't falter with regards to the vision and mission of the organization. It's also the responsibility of the board to assist the management in the identification and management of risk. Sometimes when you are knee deep into a project, you can start doing, taking certain steps, which you may not know that probably it is risky. But somebody who is a step out of that space can actually smell the risk, which you may not be able to identify. And if you have a very good board, one of their roles that they can perform is to identify risk even before you encounter it. And if after you encounter it too, they should be able to support the organization in how to manage such risk. Because sometimes you already deep into it before the board get to know about it. So it's also their responsibility to see how they can support the organization to get out of that risk. So these are some of the ways through which they protect the interest of the organization. Another way that they protect the interest of the organization is to ensure that the organization only receives funding from donors whose agenda is consistent with the vision and mission. We all know that more often than not, as CSOs, what we usually do is we follow the money. There's a fund for education, we are there. There's money for polio, we are there. There's money for climate change, we are there. So, and more often than not, we may find ourselves bidding for grants from organizations that has philosophy that are far, far different from our own. For instance, an organization that is funding maybe stem cells, for instance, and in our own policy, in our own philosophy, we don't agree with that, with the stem cell program. If we start to write proposal to such organizations, it is the responsibility of the board to say, look, this is not what we said we are going to be doing. This is not our focus, so that we can concentrate on our area of focus. Apart from that, it's also the responsibility of the board to ensure that the management is doing the right thing all the time, and that the staff too is also doing the right thing. And when there is an issue of quality with regards either management or staff, it is the responsibility of the board to assist in the recruitment of quality hands. Because most of the people that are supposed to be in our board are people that are very, very experienced, that have vast knowledge about the development sector, and also have connections in the development sector, whether for the public sector side or at the private sector side, that can recommend good hands for the organization to be able to have staff that will be able to deliver the good for the organization. Also, sometimes we also need to let the board members know that it is their responsibility to review the staff strength. Do we have more staff that we need, or are we understaffed? And there have been a series of instances whereby the board will just decide that, okay, this organization is understaffed because of the fact that maybe there's no money and no grants coming in. We need to do something. And some of them will say, okay, we are going to help you to pay salary for maybe 2 or 3 staff for the next 1 year or 2 years until you're able to get a grant to sustain it. So there are instances whereby your board can do that. They can only do that when there is constructive engagement, when they know what you are doing, and then you always carry them along and at every point in time, whenever you want to make decisions. This is something that has been done by so many organizations, whereby the board fund salaries of some staff when they realize that they are understaffed and that being understaffed is actually affecting the productivity of such organization. So it's very, very important for us to note this, so that we can challenge our board to support us in this regard. Also, anytime you want to develop your policy or strategic plan, it's very, very imperative that you make sure that your board members are there. They can share their experience, and so they can also make input into what the policy focus should be, and what the strategic plans should look like, and how best to implement those plans. Part of the responsibility of the board in protecting the organization is to ensure that the financial status of the organization is okay, and that the organization is not being threatened by way of debt or litigation. Sometimes when the grants come and then you are able to save some little amount, there's a tendency for you to want to start maybe one elephant project, and then the board can call your attention to it that this, we may not be ripe for this type of project for now. It is better for us to maybe wait until when we have enough resources, so that at the end of the day, you won't have abandoned projects, or you have a situation whereby the organization going to debt. And when there are steps that the management wants to take, which can actually lead to litigation. It is the responsibility of the board to stop it at the initial stage before it becomes something that the organization will have to start paying several thousands, if not millions of naira in the case of litigation. Also, it is the responsibility of the board to protect the CSO by making sure that the CSO is following the law and the rules anywhere that they are operating. So are they paying their taxes? Because you as a non-profit, you are not expected to pay tax. But if as a non-profit, you have some business that is bringing profit, you may have to pay tax on those businesses. And so if you are not doing that, it is the responsibility of the board to call your attention to it, and making sure that if there are new rules and regulations from the government that may affect how you work and how you operate, it is the responsibility of the board to call your attention to it, so that they ensure that you continue to work within the ambit of the law. Because if you run foul of the law, the board too will be called to question. But that's their role. They're supposed to be the go-between, a mediator between the organization and the society at large. So in all this way, the board will be supporting the organization by protecting its interests, protecting its image, and making sure that it's doing the right thing at the right time, always. Now, having talked about how our board can protect our activities, let us now see how they can promote the organization, which is also very, very key. Like I said, it's a double-edged sword. They protect and they also promote. One of the key areas where your board can support you is in the area of resource mobilization. They can contribute significantly to resource mobilization by doing some of this following. One, you can encourage them to have personal agenda on how they intend to contribute to the achievement of your organization's programs and activities. If you have 5-man board or 10-man board, individual can decide, one person can decide that, okay, every year I'll be giving the organization 100,000. The other person will say, I have only 10,000. The next person can say, I have only 5,000. Because you are not the one that is forcing them to say how much they can give, because it is voluntary. The commitment to actually fulfill it is always there. So when it is a personal agenda from their hand, the tendency for them to carry it out is always there. But like I said, for them to be able to develop that personal agenda, they must understand your vision and mission, and they must also be sure that you continue to do the right thing at the right time. Nobody wants to invest his money, no matter how altruistic the person is, on what will not work. So they are doing that because they know that you are touching people's lives and that you are impacting on people's lives. So people, members of the board can have personal agenda, and then all you need to do is just a occasional reminder about what they do, what this agenda is. And sometimes it's always important to make sure that the personal agenda is documented between the board member that is making the promise and the organization as well. So when this is done, you can always track. And then because it's also personal, it's not compulsory that you share it with all other, but you can also let them know that it is very important for each board member to develop personal agenda with regards contributing to the resources of the organization. Also, very, very important, and that is why we talk about the way you select your board member and the kind of people that you put in your board, how it's going to contribute to your resource mobilization strategy. Initially, we said that it is that the board is an untapped resources. More often than not, you have people that have technical expertise in different areas in your board. Then you are likely going to get so much done without paying for it. For example, if you have a retired accountant in your board, that accountant can assist you in auditing your financial report without collecting money. Also, if you have a retired judge or a lawyer in your board, they can actually provide free legal services to your organization without asking for money. And by the time you now quantify how much you will have paid for all these services, you realize that you are actually saving so much cost, and then you are also getting value for having the board that is working for you. So that is why when you want to recruit your board, ask yourself, what are those areas where you are likely going to have to need technical expertise? And so that's why it's always good to have a robust board. Don't bring everybody from the same sector. Try to do a lot of some level of mix. You have some people from the private sector, some people from the public sector, some people from the development sector. And then if there are other areas where your organization is focusing on, it's always good to have people who are experienced in that area to be part of your board, because you find them very useful when it comes to working for the organization. With some of the things that other organization will have to be consultant to do, your board members can actually do that for you. But like I said, depends on your level of engagement then. More often than not, when we want to do fundraising activities, it's only staff and sometimes some volunteers that we engage. But your board member can actually be part of those that will support your fundraising activity. They can invite their friends and colleagues. Maybe you are doing a fundraising dinner or luncheon. Your board members will assist you in bringing in their friends and colleagues to be part of it. And those people will also contribute to the resources that you are trying to raise funds for. Also, more often than not, your board member can use their special occasions and special moments, their birthdays, wedding anniversary, and so on, to promote the work of the organization and mobilize resources for you. There have been instances when people are doing birthday and they say, look, for my birthday, don't give me money, don't give me gifts, but I want you to, whatever you want to give me, I want you to channel it to this organization because I am one of their board members, and they are doing a fantastic job. And this is how they are impacting the lives of people. So we've seen so many organizations raising funds from the special moments of their board members. So if you have board members, try to see how you can capitalize on this platform so that they can assist you to raise funds for your organization. Some of your board members also have social media handles, and they have their network of friends, families, and relatives. So if you are able to mobilize them, they can also promote the organization's work on their social media handles, and more people will be able to assess what you are doing. And through that, more people may also be interested in supporting your organization. So this is also one of the critical things that you need to let your board members know, that where they are sharing social clips and so on, they can also share any messages that is emanating from your organization on their social media. So they help you to project your organization. They help you to help your organization to be more visible to the general public. Also, some of those that will be in your board will be people that have worked in the high places before and have a very good working relationship funding organizations and philanthropists. They can use reference letter to such people to be able to fund whatever project or activity that you want to do. For example, somebody who has been working with development partners for some time, if the person is in your board, we'll be able to provide references. We'll be able to tell you who to go and see, who will support your projects. And some of them may also have access to some information about funding platforms. And when they have funding news, they share with the management so that the management can actually follow up on that. You think that probably because you are still active that you have access to more information than they do. But despite the fact that they may no longer be that seriously active, but they still have their own platform where they get news. So, and when they have information with regards funding opportunity, they can also share with the management to take charge and continue to follow up. Many organizations here in Nigeria have physical assets that are created by the board members. We have organizations that have benefited from their board, whereby the board provide either land or building or even the vehicle that they are using to them, free of charge to support their activities. When board members are sold into whatever you are doing, when they see it as their own, they can go to any length to support you. And so what we need to do is to make sure that we are doing the right thing, and then we are carrying them along regularly. Your board can also assist in making sure that your organization is sustainable. They should be interested in the development of sustainability mechanism in the organization. How do you ensure that your organization continue to run when there are no grants? How do you continue to operate when you can't access any funding, either local or international? So these are some of the things that the board should support you to do. And when you already have a sustainability plan in place, they should be able to track whether you are actually following the plan. And if they are not following the plan, they should be able to identify what are the challenges, what are the issues, and then provide some suggestions or solutions with regard how you can remain sustainable. And also, the board should also be interested in the succession planning in your organization. Who is heading at the moment? If that person leaves, who is going to continue? Would the death of the founder lead to the death of the organization, or the organization will be able to continue even when the founder is no longer there? It may not even be death, it may even be relocation. Sometimes we have organization founders who relocate from Nigeria to other places. So how do we ensure that the organization continues? It's also part of the things that your board can do if properly oriented. If you orientate them effectively in that regard. So everything that we've been discussing about is about your relationship with your board in the area of protecting and promoting your organization. So, and I believe that if you are able to provide the necessary orientation for them, and they're able to do some of the stuff that we have articulated, definitely your organization better place to continue to do its work. So also, we need to notice all the things that was mentioned about what the board can do for you only be achieved if certain steps are taken. One, if you create an enabling environment which will ensure that your board member visits your organization regularly, then some of these things can be achieved. Like I said, there are some board members who may not even visit the organization that where they are board members in 2, 3, 4 years. But if there's a platform for statutory meeting, either monthly or quarterly, then they will be able to have more access to the organization, and they also be more close to the organization. And when they are there, it's not just to come and banter. They discuss with management, and also you should also ensure that they also discuss with staff too. some of the things that your staff may not tell the management, sometimes when they're interacting with the board, they may actually open up to the board, and that can actually assist you in your management of the organization. And when they come, either for meetings or they just come on a scheduled visit, make sure that it's not only about talking, let them have access to organizations' documents, whether it's your report, your policy, or your program documents. Let them have access to it, let them know what you're doing right, and let them know where the challenges are, so that they can also make suggestions. Also, encourage them to always talk about the organization at every given opportunity, because some of them have different platform, different engagement, different network, where they can actually sell the organization for you. But they can only do that when they have some material that they are going to make use of when they want to do that. So it is the responsibility of the management to make sure that your organizational profile, your fundraising materials are provided for your board member, so that anytime they find themselves somewhere where they think that they have to promote your organization, there are some things that they can use as reference material to be able to do that. So that is that about your organization as well as your board, how they can protect your organization and how they can also promote the work that the organization is doing. But the other aspect, the interest of the public, let us just see one or two things that your board can also do in that regard. Your board should always ensure that whatever you want to do in terms of programs and activity is for the general good of the public, making sure that your intervention is not skewed in one direction, that everybody, irrespective of gender, sex, or where that person comes from, can actually benefit from your program. It is the responsibility of the board to ensure that that is done, that there is no discrimination in the way you provide your services to members of the public. They should also ensure that whatever you are doing in the community, whatever you are doing with your target beneficiaries, or whatever you are doing with the partners that are giving you money, will not in any way harm either the target beneficiary or your partner. So they ensure that you do the right thing at the right time for everybody. And then, because they are protecting the interests of the public, anything that you want to do that they know that may be injurious to the people, they will be able to counsel you against such. Also, your board will work with the management to define what is the ethical standard for the organization and what are the unethical practices that the organization will not condone. And if those unethical practices are conducted, what and when will be the sanction, so that people will not see it as part of the culture of the organization. So your board will also ensure that the organization is working within what is acceptable, what is ethical, so that your interaction with the member of the public will not be seen to be unethical in any sense. So these are some of the ways through which people can facilitate effectiveness of their board, engage them constructively, making sure that they have access to your offices, they have access to your record, and then definitely you will have more productive board members. And like we said, their technical expertise, their network of friends, their circle of friends are some of the things that can be of immense benefit to you if you are able to tap into that. So it's very, very important and very essential that we understand what our board can do for us and also orientate them in that direction, so that if they are properly orientated, then it will be easy for them to support our colleagues. Now we are rounding off, and my parting shot for all of us here is that we should let the board members know that they are the voice and face of our organization and should always be vocal and be visible. What do we mean? Your board members should always be ready to talk about your organization at every point in time, anywhere they find themselves. And also, anytime that the organization is doing something, whether you're having a meeting with your partners or you are breaking new grounds in terms of reaching out to other areas where you've not been working before, it's always good for your board members to create time to be visible. Sometimes when people know that somebody that's very, very influential is going to be part of a meeting or a program, it can actually attract more people to be part of such a program. So we must ensure that our board are very vocal about what we do. They know what we are doing, and they know how to articulate our programs. And also, anytime we need them to be part of whatever we are doing, they should always endear their time to be able to participate. So I will stop here and thank you for your attention. Then we can take questions after this. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Dr. Lasisi. Thank you for those insightful presentations. I will now hand over to Mr. Francis Ademola to facilitate the question and answer session, and also try to give us a summary of what Dr. Bash has said. Thank you.
Hello, everyone.
Hello. Go ahead, please.
All right. Thank you so much, Dr. Lasisi, for that very insightful and useful exposition on how to make the board more effective in CSOs, among the CSOs. The recap will not be will not be many, will not be too long, so as to give room for people who have burning issues that they would like to ask questions about. And just for the purpose of those who joined a bit late, Dr. Lasisi started by giving us the difference between the boards of the public sector and the private sector, and asked whether CSOs actually need a board of directors. And he said, yes, indeed, this could be, but the most essential is for them to have the board of trustees. Emphasis is on the board of trustees and how to make them work very effectively. He likened the boards of CSO to a very wonderful but yet untapped resource. And this is because board's roles sometimes are not understood by people in the organization, management especially, or that even the board members don't know what is expected of them. And there are times when people just see board as just a necessity for registration. But to make board very functional, it starts from how you select the members. You have to be sure that it is not just an association of friends of the founders. And the selection has to be critical. And you ask what they are bringing on. What are these people that are coming to be members of the board? What are they bringing on to the board? And they ask the question, who is the board? The board is both an insider as well as an outsider, just because of the roles that they perform. And the two key functions he mentioned are, the board is to protect both the organization and the interest of the public. The board also has to promote the organization that they represent. In protecting the organization, the board has to make sure that the organization is focused in its programs and that what they do are in line with the vision and mission. They also help to identify, excuse me, they also assist management to identify and manage risks. They give information about funds, they evaluate management performance, help in recruiting high quality staff. They do policy review and strategic plans, and they also ensure the physical health of the organization and ensure also too that the legal requirements are met. In promoting the organization, the board participates in fundraising and use special events of their board members to promote the organization and possibly raise resources for the organization. The board members will have personal agenda. They can develop personal agenda on how to contribute to the organization's achievements. Those who are experts in their own profession who contribute technical expertise pro bono, and board members can also make personal donations of land, vehicles, and so on and so forth. They can make reference letters for the organization, and they can provide funding opportunities for the organization. Am I being heard?
Yes, yes.
All right, thank you. Then in the area of sustainability, the board also ensures that there are mechanisms in the organization that will work towards sustainability. And if there is a sustainability plan, the board ensures that management follows that. Then it's also the duty of the board to also see that succession is well planned, because as someone said, a writer in one of the writers said, he said, Maxwell says the success of any CEO is how he leaves the place and the place keeps working. Succession is a measure of success. And Dr. Bashir said that there has to be an enabling environment for the board to do what is expected of it by board members visiting regularly, discussing with management, and having access to organizational reports and others. And they need to have the profile of the organization, the fundraising packages that the organization uses, to be able to speak about the organization at opportune times. In protecting the public, the board has responsibility to ensure that the interventions of the organization is not skewed to any side, and that all that are eligible can benefit from the activities of the organization. And such activities should not be harmful to the public, and they should be done within ethical standards and practices. Finally, he said, the board is the face and voice of the organization, such that the board has to be vocal as well as visible. So in summary, that's what I can say about what Dr. Bashir has said. And I'm very sure that there are burning issues that people will have questions to ask. So we go through this way. We'll take 5 questions per round. And all you need to do to signify you want to ask your question is to use the raise hand function. And once you do that, you will be unmuted, and then you can ask your question. So for now, I'm seeing about 2 hands up. So the first is Chinyere Eyo. So please, Dr. Bashir, take note of those questions. We'll take 5 at first. You respond to those 5, and then we'll take another round of 5. So Chinyere, please, you can unmute yourself and ask your question.
Thank you. Yes, thank you very much. Thank you, Dr. Ash, for a most enlightening presentation. I have 3 very quick questions that I'm hoping you could help me address. The first is, in explaining the difference between non-profit and not-for-profit, I would like to know what the difference is between an organization incorporated by trustees and one that is limited by guarantee. What's the difference between the two? Secondly, with your experience, what would you advise for NGOs? Is it to have, a board of trustees that have life tenure, or their tenure is fixed, probably maybe 3 to 5 years. And whichever you go for, what would you say are the advantages, for that? And the last one will be, having heard all that you have said, if you probably realize that 1 or 2 or maybe even all your board members were selected, probably out of sentiment, how do you go about now trying to tell them, okay, they can't be board members anymore, without raising any animosity, or feelings of being hurt? How exactly do you go around that? Thank you, and over.
Please take the third question again, please.
Yes, so I've heard you, a situation where you realize that 1 or 2, or probably even all your board members were selected out of sentiment, and you feel they don't fit the bill for being board members, based on what it is you've shared with us. How do you go about changing them without building any animosity on their part, or they are feeling betrayed or hurt, because they have been dropped? What exactly is the procedure you can use in changing your board? Thank you.
Thank you very much.
All right. Let's have Grace to ask a question. Grace, please.
Yeah, thank you very much. The session was quite illuminating. Sorry, I joined late because of network, but I was able to pick on the roles of the board, and I just want to get a clarification. It's a simple one though, that what is the difference between the board of trustees, though emphasis is laid more on having a board of trustee. What is the difference between the board of trustee and then the board of directors? The second one is just a rider to the first question by Chinenye. Sorry if I didn't get the name correctly. Chinyere, if I didn't get the name correctly. Yeah, how do you manage those kind of organizational culture that follow wrongly ways of selecting board members because of maybe sentiments, and how can we handle that? I know there may not be a straightforward answer, but yeah, so thank you.
Can one of the members of the Board of Trustees be appointed as chairperson of the organization? And the second question, do the Board of Trustees have a tenure which the organization can be able to say maybe the Board of Trustees will have 4 years as the tenure, where the others can also be appointed in order, and that is what I want to ask.
All right. Okay, thank you. So the second question is about the tenure of the board, right?
Yes, sir.
All right, thank you. Pascal Anozie, please unmute yourself and ask your question.
Yeah, good afternoon, everyone. Thank you for this. I appreciate. Thank you for this wonderful. Those that spoke before me have answered a number of questions that I had in my mind. But one thing that I may want to ask is if it is okay for a board member to do a paid job for the organization or be in the payroll of that particular organization, if there is anything wrong with that. Thank you.
All right, thank you. Thank you so much. That was swift and precise. Let's have Evelyn Ugbe to please ask a question. Evelyn.
Okay, so good afternoon all. I'm Evelyn, I work for Ward C. There could be a situation where your board members are also on the board of other organizations doing similar things as you are.
Okay.
So how do you position your organization to be a priority, of that board member? And secondly, can a staff in your organization, apart from the ED, be on the board, on your board? Yes, so those are my questions.
Okay, thank you so much. And those are 5 people that have raised their hands. We'll take another set later on. So please let's ask Dr. Bashir to respond to those questions that have been asked so far. Thank you. Over.
Okay, thank you very much. Let me start with Chinyele's question. One about Board of Trustees and limited guarantee. Essentially, limited by guarantee are for-profit organizations. While Board of Trustees is essentially for civil society organization, whether non-profit or not for-profit. So that's the major, because the whole essence of limited by guarantee is that if your company runs into debt, the company could be sold, but you as an individual who owns the company is exonerated from the liability incurred by that organization. The other question is whether Board of Trustees should have life tenure or fixed tenure. Both have their advantages and their disadvantages. When people have life tenure as board members, the level of commitment tends to be very strong. There's that very strong attachment to that organization because it's like a marriage, day in, day out. The tendency, if they are properly engaged, is for them to continue to promote the interests of the organization. However, sometimes when you give people make people life tenure Board of Trustee member, if they are not performing optimally, it will be very difficult for you to move forward, and then you will not be able to maximize having a board. So that's the downside of that. Fixed tenure is also good, like we said. Fixed tenure, make sure that if somebody is not doing it's not performing very well among the board, which we also limit to the third question that she asked. It is advisable not to drop. Even when somebody is not doing well, you don't drop board member, but you can actually energize your board by bringing in more people that are going to be proactive. For example, you have a 35-man board, and then you realize that probably 3 of them are not doing well, and then you bring in maybe 2 or 3 more that are very agile enough. So, and then because you are bringing in new blood, that can actually motivate them, and then they can become more proactive. So, and the mere fact that somebody is not doing well today does not mean that that person will not do well tomorrow. So it's always good to not just drop people because if you carefully select them before, there's something that you see in them before you bring them on board. So it's advisable, bring in more people to energize the board, but don't drop those ones that are already with you, whether they are doing well or not. If they are not doing well, the new ones are doing well, definitely it will rub off on them, and then they will be able to do well soon. There was a question about whether board of directors are directors registered with the CAC or directors appointed to direct the affairs of the organization. More often than not, it's the director that you register with that also combining the role of directing the affairs of the organization. So there is so they are performing dual role there. So as the board, which is the requirement of the law by CAC, and also they are the one in charge of day-to-day runnings of the organization. And like we said that most of the not-for-profits, for instance, if you have a religious body that has a board of directors, when they are able to mobilize resources and they want to share it among the congregation, or make sure that it gets to virtually everybody in the congregation, it's the board of directors that will determine on the modalities for utilizing whatever resources that they have within that organization. Please talk about when you have wrong selection, what can you do about it? I think, I don't know whether I get that right. Grace, can you please repeat your question about wrong board selection?
I think you have touched on it, because her question was, how do you let people you wrongly selected, let's say
Okay.
friends,
Yes. Okay.
how do you let
Yeah.
them go without letting them feel
Very bad.
bad?
Okay.
Yes,
It's
I
better
think
to add to yes. Thank you. Okay. Then another question is whether the member of board can also be the chairman of the organization. Yes, it is very possible. Sometimes the founder of the organization is also part of the board. So, and there's nothing illegal about that. Another question about the name of fixed or permanent. I've talked about that one. The other question is about whether board member can be on the payroll, the organization. Ideally, they should not. However, if they are performing, if they are providing technical services and which requires allowances, you can give them allowances, but they should not be on your payroll. They should not be earning salary. Ideally, Evelyn is asking whether when you have a board member that is a board member in 2 places or 3 places as it were, how do you position your own organization to ensure that there is no divided loyalty? I think the best way for you to do that is to make sure that you are doing your job very well and that you are engaging that board member. So the more you engage the board member, the more attention that is going to put forward. So if you have 2 board members, 2 organizations, and one is constructively engaging, always making sure that the man is carried along in anything that they do, definitely the man will be more supportive of that organization than the one that probably maybe is just occasional interaction. So you can only do that by making sure that you constantly engage those members, and the more you carry them along, the more you encourage them, the more they will also be working for you. I think I've answered those 5 questions.
There's still one more question. Can a staff other than the ED be on the board?
It depends on the bylaw of the organization. If it is stipulated in the constitution that you submitted to the CSC when you are registering, that a staff can also be part of it, then it can be. But if it's not in your rule that you submitted to CSC, that will not be possible.
All right. Thank you so much. All right, let's have another round of questions, beginning with Salmanu. Please ask your question.
Thank you very much, sir. My name is Salmanu Muhammad from Wazobia International Women and Children Foundation. My question is already, I see one of my question already, Chris has already asked. And my second question is, what should be a maximum number of the board members? Because you know there is some. Hello.
Maximum number of board members.
Yes.
Of board members, yes, sir.
Okay. All right. Second question.
Yes, sir. That is my question. Thank you very much.
All right. Thank you.
We appreciate it, sir. Thank you.
All right. Ibrahim Isa Ali, please unmute yourself and ask your question.
Okay, thank you very much for the hard working you are doing. So my question is, as the facilitator mentioned, Dr. Lasisi Basiru, he said that the fundraising is one of the duties of the Board of Trustees. Please, I want to know, can the management of the organization also raise the fund, or it is only work for Board of Trustees? I want to know whether the directors, the secretaries can raise the fund, or it is also strictly for the Board of Trustees. Thank you.
All right, thank you. Bridget Afia, please ask your question.
Thank you very much. Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you for the wonderful presentation. My name is Bridget Afia from Ideal Women Advancement Initiative, Delta State. And 2 of my questions have been answered. But on my board, we are 5. I'm on the board of trustee, and also the executive director. I've had just 1 board member who has been active. So now I need to write to them to say, look, this is what is expected of the board. And since you're not meeting up, can you decline? Do I need to write to them to decline being members, or how do I go about it? Or if they are interested in becoming board of directors, to be more active so that we bring new people who will be on the board of trustee. How do I go about it?
All right, thank you. Thank you for that question. Let's go to Halimat Jibril. Please ask your question.
Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. I want to lend my voice to appreciate the presentation and the summary that was made. A lot of organizations have a problem articulating a succession plan for the board of trustees. If board of trustees are there for life, some of them eventually die or some of them are incapacitated. What should be the strategy for articulating a succession plan to replace, yes, for the board of trustees, to replace those who die, those who are incapacitated, etc., etc. Thank you.
All right, thank you so much. We have 5 questions. We have 5 people have asked questions, so please let's take Dr. Lasisi's response, and then the last set of questions will, the third round will be the last. So please, Dr. Lasisi.
Okay, thank you very much. Let me start with Salman's question. Maximum number of board. I think the number of board members depend largely on the size of the organization and how big the organization is and how vast the area of operation of the organization is. So when you are just starting up, it's always good to have a very manageable size for your board. There's no other about the size of the organization. If your organization is a very big one that maybe operate not only within Nigeria but outside Nigeria, so you can have a very big, large board, 15 members, 20 members. But the moment it's going beyond 20 members, then it's becoming like a stadium. So it is the size of the organizations and the scope that will determine how large the board members should be. Then fundraising, can management raise funds? We are saying that the mere fact that your board members are supporting you in your resource mobilization does not mean that you abdicate your role for them. It is the management's responsibility first and foremost to raise funds. But we are saying that the board can be a veritable tool for you in that regard. So they can support you to be able to raise funds. Not that you now leave everything about fundraising to them. And then if you are discussing the resource mobilization policy, then you'll be able to articulate where the board can come in to support the management in raising funds. So the mere fact that the board members are supporting you in raising funds does not mean that the management should fold their hands. So it is their major
Quickly, Dr. Lasisi, can we move on to the next few questions so that we can manage the time we have?
Okay, now Bridget wants to know whether to write those that are not functioning in the board. My suggestion is this: don't write them. One of the things that you may need to do is to make them feel more important and let them see that you need them. And how can you go about this? You can decide that your next board meeting will be in one of those people that are not coming, in one of his house or her house. You understand? You can take the board to them if they are not coming for the board meeting. And this is one of the ways that you can actually make them more important. So you have to speak with them, talk to them, let them know why they are important to the organization. When people feel important, they can go to any length to work for you. And sometimes, because of dialogue and engagement, you may now find out why some of them are actually not forthcoming. It may not be that they don't want to perform, but by the time you are able to engage them constructively, you are going to find a middle road approach. But try first and foremost to reach out to them and probably, like I said, take the board meeting to them and let's see whether from there you can ignite the fire.
All right, Sadia's question was, at what stage is the tenure to begin for board members?
The moment you register with CAC and the registration scale through, your board members tenures are started. However, if it's for a fixed tenure, it depends on what you have in your constitution. If your fixed tenure is every 4 years or 5 years, that is when you will be changing your board member. But if it's a permanent whatever, it's only when you want to increase. At any time you want to have a change, maybe you want to add more members to your board, you must inform the Corporate Affairs Commission so that they can also register the new member. So it's not something that you can just bring in somebody in and then you just increase your board members without informing the Corporate Affairs Commission.
All right, and the last one from Halimat, quickly, please.
Yeah, succession plan for board trustees. Anyway, that if your organization actually have a succession plan, not only for board of trustees, but even for leadership and structure, then this is going to be stipulated in that sustainability document. You have a sustainability plan. It will articulate what to do when a board member dies, and usually is to replace that. Like I said, when you want to replace that, you look at the quality that person that has just passed ask and what is contributing. If it is contributing very well, and then you look for somebody who can actually fill the void, and make sure that you inform the Corporate Affairs Commission about that. And the moment it's duly registered, that person will become part of the board.
Thank you so much, Dr. Akande Lasisi. Please, Dahiru, unmute yourself and go straight to your point. Ask it in 15 seconds.
Hello, good afternoon, everyone. I am Dahiru Abdul Mumin. My question goes like this. I just want to know what exactly is the difference between board of trustees and board of directors, because I've seen so many organizations some have the two board trustees and board of directors, while others maintain only BOD. That's
all
my
right,
question.
Thank
you very much.
Dauda, can I please ask your question?
Thank you very much. Thank you to the presenter. I'm Dauda Kane from Development Initiative West Africa, DIWA. My question goes this way. It has to do with the tenure-based board of trustees. A situation where a member of the board of trustees happen to be.
Go straight to the question. Yeah. Please manage it.
Yeah, the question is this. A situation where a board member happen to be the one that conceived the idea of the organization, all right, and that organization is running a tenure-based board of trustees. Will there be a situation where that person who initiated the idea will no longer become part of that organization because?
All right. You mean the founder being the board member?
Yes, sir.
All right. Okay, thank you. And lastly, please, Sumaya Hussein.
Okay. Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Sumaya Hussein from Center of the Advocacy of Justice and Rights, Plateau State. My question is, can the Board of Trustees actually take decision on behalf of the organization? That's my question.
All right. Thank you. I think we may not be able to take any more questions. We are very sorry. We are constrained by time, and we just need to round up in the next 3 minutes. So please, Dr. Lasisi, I kindly respond to these questions that have been asked in the third round. We are sorry, Salman. We are sorry, Gioni. We are sorry, all of the other people who have questions to raise. Please, you can possibly send your question to the email address that was used to send the invite to you, and probably we will be able to answer your question. Thank you so much. We are very sorry. We are constrained by time. Yes, please go ahead.
Yeah,
please.
for organizations that adopt board of directors, they perform the same role that the board of trustees would do for non-profit organization. However, there's no other fast rule about whether they should just be the board, whether you can have a board of director and also have board of trustees, or whether you can only have board of director alone. It depends on the law, the question that you submit to the Corporate Affairs Commission. So it is at the prerogative of the organization to determine whether, apart from board of trustees, you still want to have a board of directors that will actually run the day-to-day affairs of the organization. So either way, they can perform either dual role, or you can only have either board of directors alone in an organization. So that's about that. We funders be subjected to fixed tenure. The moment, more often than not, when the funder is applying for registration at the CAC, the clause will always be there so that the funder can continue to be part of the board members, even if the tenure is going to be fixed tenure. So there may be some exception to the rule, and that will come definitely from the constitution of that organization. We talk about the consultancy issue, any payment for board members initially. So for Sumaya, can board take decision on behalf of the organization? Definitely, board can take decision, but it has to be policy-related decisions. And like I said, when we say board, you know that sometimes the founder or the executive director is also part of the board. So it is part of the board, the decision of the board, that the management is expected to implement. It is a decision-making body in an organization. I think I've answered the remaining questions.
Yes, thank you so much, Dr. Lasisi. I appreciate your time, your presentation, and the way you have answered all the questions. I now hand over back to Timi Owolabi, please.
Thank you, Mr. Owolabi, and thank you, Dr. Bash, for such an engaging presentation. And we thank the participants also for the time for listening and for the questions that they have asked. The matter of the board is the head of the organization, and the tendency is that when you get the head right, you might get other things right as well. This is the 6th in our webinar series. We started sometimes in August last year. And so we've had participants, we have people make presentations. At this time, we would like to know how well we are doing, or how this webinar series is benefiting you. So we would like to hear from you what you have gained by spending time attending these webinars. How it has helped you in your organizations, because we have had various topics bordering on sustainability, to how you register your organization's issues with CAC, issues with controls, issues with the board. We've had several in this series. So we'll be glad to hear from you, to tell us, write to us, how you have benefited, maybe testimonies or specific things that these webinars have done to you personally or done to your organization in terms of capacity building, which they are designed to do. So we'd like to hear from you. And always also, we feel very free to write to us as to how we can improve on these webinars. And if you have topics that you feel should be discussed, please also write to us. We'll be glad to hear from you. We'll be glad to have your suggestions. And when we send out feedback forms to you, please take the time to complete those feedback forms so that we can improve on how we bring these webinars to you, because the essence of it is to help you to build your capacity individually and as organizations. So if you make suggestions to us or tell us how we can improve on them, we'll be glad to hear from you. Also, where there are questions that have not, that that come to your mind even after the webinars, please always write to us also. We'll be glad to look at those questions and give you feedback. Perhaps there was no time during the webinar or you did not remember to ask some of those questions. If you remember them afterwards, please also write to us. We will respond to them. And please also do not forget to complete the attendance form, which has been online here. Please complete them so that I can have your details. And so when you write to us, we'll be able to link you with the attendance of those who attended the webinar as well. And don't forget also, for those who have attended at least for the certain period of time, you will get a certificate of attendance. We'll do this for everyone who has spent at least up to an hour on the webinar. You'll get a certificate of attendance. We have been doing this and we'll continue to do this. So you have our emails. Please write to us. We'll be glad to hear from you. your testimonies, how this has helped you individually or as an organization, or how you think you can improve on what we are doing, please write to us. We'll be glad to hear from you. Thank you. I hand over back to my colleague, Mr. Owolabi now. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Let me say before we continue, as part of my own contribution, to say that one of the major differences between incorporated trusteeship, or and the limited by guarantee, is that for incorporated trusteeship, when you apply for registration, your registration stops at CAC. But for the company limited by guarantee, it has to go to the office of the Attorney General of the Federation, for proper scrutiny before you are then given, before the CAC is given permission to license you. And in that case, you are saying that if you are a company limited by guarantee, you are saying that we should be held liable, personally and individually and collectively. So that's also one of the differences by way of contribution. Now, let me go to the next steps. Our next webinar is going to come up on Thursday, February 24, 2022. And the topic is perspectives in managing and sustaining NGO. We are going to be listening to the experience of Action Health Incorporation. Action Health Incorporation, who is one of the leading NGOs in the area of adolescents and reproductive sexual health. So we'll be having with us Dr. Uwem Eshe, who is one of the co-founders, talking to us on that day. So please put it in mind. We'll send out the invite as soon as possible, but also put it in your diary that we're having the next webinar on Thursday, February 24, 2022. Thank you so much. I will now hand over to Olaide for the vote of thanks.
Hello, just wanted to say thank you to everyone who joined in on the call today. I hope it has been very useful. At some point, I was checking on the attendance and I saw that 113 plus people were on the call. Again, sincere apologies for the mix-up and the technical hitches that people encountered when the meeting started. I hope it was useful despite the initial challenges. Just to assure you that for all the people who registered, the slides from today's presentation will be sent to you. A big thanks to our facilitator, Dr. Bashir Akonde, who took us through a very wonderful and illuminating session. Thank you very much, sir. Big ups to all the members of the Custos management team and to our supporters, Scale. We just want to say thank you very much to the Palladium group on the call. We really appreciate and sincerely appreciate this opportunity. So thank you all for staying with us all through this session, and please enjoy the rest of your day. Do have a wonderful day. Thank you so much. Over.
So thank you so much. See you next time, February 24th. God bless.